Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Xaereth Prevails, a Grand Arena story. This is a really great episode, really excited to show you guys. It's actually, in a way, more intense than my previous episode, which was really intense. So, excited to show you guys that. But first, want to give a huge shout out to my patrons. You guys are awesome, and I really appreciate you guys. Except for one of you. You know who you are. Season 5 is both ramping up and winding down. It's been a really cool, crazy season so far. I've only lost one match, and if I could win this current match, I should say, then I don't have to win my next match, so that's great. The only problem is my opponent has way more lifetime banners than me. But we'll cover that in a sec. Now, my opponent does have more relics than me, definitely an advantage in terms of just overall strength of relics. You can see that they outnumber me in almost every category except for tier 4 randomly, and of course tier 1, which no one ever outnumbers me in. As far as mods go, my opponent does have the edge overall, though I do have the best, like the highest end mods. I also have significantly less gear 13 gear than my opponent, which is problematic to say the least. Alright, this is the stat sheet that's probably the most significant. Not only does my opponent have 7,000 more lifetime banners than me, which is the equivalent of 4 or 5 wins, they also have more undersize wins, they have more defensive wins, they have more areas and rounds cleared. Just basically beats me on every single important stat. So, that's what I'm dealing with. And so that required a pretty huge defensive adjustment. And so I never do this. I'm going to try it this time, though. I'm just going to show you guys my defenses and what I'm doing. Just so you guys can see what kind of the context is as the match progresses. So you see that I have my Darth Revan team down. However, when you look closer at it, my Darth Revan does not have a Bastila or Malak. It's just kind of an empty castle. In the back behind it, however, I do have an Emperor Palpatine team with Bastila and Malak, and the idea was just to kind of spread those two teams out and make them impervious to Imperial Troopers. This other front zone, I've traditionally always left General Skywalker on defense. I didn't this time, but my opponent was probably expecting that, so I put my Jango team up front so that my opponent would have to use something other than Commander Luke to take it out. And, if he does that, then he's going to probably drop banners, frankly. And in the back zone, I just have Nute and Night Sisters sharing squads, so we'll see how that all progresses. I did spend a lot of time trying to plan that defense. My opponent's defense was actually pretty close to what it usually is on Grand Arena history. However, they have a long-standing history of changing up really key parts of their defense in the back zones, and so I didn't really trust this front at all. Now, I really think I could probably spend a full hour explaining all the different things that went into my defense and offense. We can't really do that. I want to make these videos as concise as possible, so suffice it to say, this General Grievous squad did not have BB-8 or Wat in it. It just had a Droidica, and even though all of these droids are well modded and well geared, they all have relics. I felt no hesitation going into it with a Bastila lead Jedi Revan squad. So, that's the beauty of having to deal with this squad without BB-8 or Wat. Like, you can immediately target B2, and, if you can take him out, it's always a race. General Grievous is traditionally pretty slow. If you can kill B2 before General Grievous can go, then it's awesome, because he was going to use his AoE anyways, and being able to kill a droid before it triggers his unique and gives him a second bonus turn is wonderful. So, one way or another, he's going to use his AoE, and then if you kill a droid after he uses his AoE, he'll use his AoE again, and that's not awesome. So now that we've killed B2, we're kind of just biding our time. We want to whittle down the B1 stacks. We want to just kind of hang out and survive for a while until we have Mark available from Revan again. And once we have Mark available, then we'll be able to mark him, and if we can kill him, then the other 3 will just fall. However, my opponent did make a pretty squishy, even though he's relicked Magna Guard, and I accidentally killed him. And so here I'm just trying to evaluate what my options are whether I should do my AoE or whatever, because he's not all dead, he's just mostly dead, which is a pretty important distinction in a lot of ways. I thought maybe I would be able to just defer and wait. I was hoping that I wouldn't have to kill him until I was able to mark General Grievous or something, so I did just take a basic on B1 there, and then I realized that because Magna Guard is taunting, I was just going to have to take a turn, and so did kill him, and now I'm left in this kind of strange space where no one is taunting, no one is doing anything. But we want to wait to take General Grievous down to below full health, because if we can do that, then if we don't do that, he will put Mark on one of his droids. And then I got the awesome idea of killing Droidica randomly. He's pretty squishy, and it was frankly just pretty irresistible to me. I just... you see a Droidica on his deathbed and you just want to kill him. So, that's what I did. And Grievous got an AoE. Luckily, I've controlled the battle to the extent right now where I just didn't really have to worry about an extra AoE. I wanted to finish with as much health and protection as I could, of course, but when it's all said and done, as long as I finish with all 5 of my characters alive and maybe 1 or 2 of them with full protection, then I'm frankly good. So we are trying to wait to kill B1 until it's over. And the Yoda thing, I just did a basic attack just so that I could maybe try to heal someone else up. I ended up getting a mass assist with Revan at the end and 57 banners, so that's pretty good. And now we only have 1 more squad in this zone to take out before we find out what's behind the curtain in the back zone. Now, I thought about it for a long time and was trying to figure out what to do exactly against this team. This is a Carth team with Wampa, which isn't necessarily super rare, but it is all relict, and Wampa is relic 5. And it's just really tough. I could maybe have taken troopers into it. The Wampa kind of scares me for that. All these relics scare me for that. I really didn't want to have to do that unless I absolutely had to. And the fact of the matter is my Jedi Training Raid team does have 3 relic characters. They're all relic 1, so not super great, but they are all pretty quick, and it's a control team, so I thought maybe I could just take this team and slowly I could control it to death, basically, like keep Wampa from ever taking a turn. And if I could do that, then that would be awesome. I can dispel Zalbar almost at will. I have a ton of that available to me. And, as long as I can reduce turn meter, I can daze different characters, then that's great. So you'll see me jumping around here and there, just trying to, control the situation, as I said. And, we did fail a little bit there. Wampa did get his big AoE off, so that was frustrating, but he didn't end up killing anyone, so that's obviously wonderful. And, you get Illuminated Destiny, and that's usually a good sign for Jedi Training Ray to be able to win. I took out Carth first because he was just, frankly, he was just really vulnerable. He was easy to take out. I tried to stun against Wampa there, didn't take, but he couldn't assist, or rather counter, because I was behind stealth. So, after that, I took out Mission. And I guess Canderous was in there somewhere as well. We're just trying to field or take out targets of opportunity here. And so you'll see that Rey actually went and tried to call R2 to assist and stun Wampa. And Wampa was like, no, thank you. I don't want to be stunned. And I had no choice but to defer to his excellent judgment and not stun him. So, Finn, for a little bit, I was like, oh, maybe I'll stun Wampa, but we really want to avoid these counters if possible. We want to hit Wampa and not have him hit back, because he doesn't miss. So even if we have Foresight up, he's still going to be hitting us, and he's going to be hitting us hard because he's Relic 5. And so, we took out Zalbar. I'm trying to find ways to regenerate all of my lost banners, but I ran out of hit points to take out. And honestly, 58 banners with Jedi Training Ray is generally pretty acceptable, especially against a Relic 5 Wampa. So, happy enough with that. This made me laugh out loud when I saw it, actually. This guy is so cheeky. Like, he put a Jedi Revan squad on defense, and it was the exact same composition as the one that I had lost to in my previous loss a couple matches ago. So clearly he had done his homework, decided that he'd take a squad that I was weak against and exploit that. So, kudos to him. Great player, obviously, great defenses, but let's move on to the next zone, which is the other front zone here. Now, my opponent had a really fast bounty hunter squad. Bosk is at 309, which clocks him in at 339 total, under a Jango lead. And so it caused this period of uncertainty. Normally, I like to use troopers against this squad. However, I just wasn't sure. I'm only clocked for one speed higher than that. So I had my friend Johnny on the spot run bounty hunters in arena, and I tested it like 3 different times to make sure. I needed Stark to go first, which I wasn't worried about, but then I needed to make sure Death Trooper would for sure go before Bosk. That is central to this counter. You have to have that happen because Death Trooper is going to throw his grenade, and that's going to increase cooldowns on Bosk so that he can't taunt automatically. So we have Stark. He's going to give everyone turn meter as long as I don't fat finger the click. That worked. Death Trooper did go first. He threw his grenade, it did hit Bosk, and then Bosk just did a basic. So he did a basic, wonderful. Boba was almost down, so I actually used a mass attack on Jango just so that I could get a twofer there. Took out Jango and Boba at the same time. And then, I decided not to use the death mark on Bosk because Jango was so quick, so close to death. And then after that, once you get your first couple kills, then awesome. And this is my screenshot that I sent to my friend Johnny on the spot, showing him, hey, look, see, our tests were not in vain. It worked. Awesome. And here's a screenshot for your troubles. I'm sure that you had to spend crystals to do that. So big props to him. Awesome dude. And now there's this really obnoxious timeout team, and it has a Relic 7 nest, which, I have Relic 7 nest, and I'm used to doing that to my opponents. I'm not used to them doing it to me, however. I could have gone a few different directions here, but instead, in the end, I decided to opt for a Traya squad with Thrawn, and then I just added Barriss there as added insurance. I was pretty sure I wasn't going to use Barriss for anything else, and she's just I don't know, she's good insurance. She dispels things, she heals things, she's not going to die, especially not to this team. But Nest just causes all this uncertainty in me, especially Relic 7 Nest. So I did put Isolate on L3 because she is obnoxious as hell. And I saved my my initial AoE from Scion so that I could dispel Stormtrooper Han when he eventually taunted, so I wasn't going to be feeding that whole team a ton of turn meter. Now I'm targeting Vander Chewbacca as much as I can, because if I kill one of the other characters here without using Annihilate or something, then Vander Chewbacca will end up passively reviving them if I'm just leaving him alone. So took him out. I did originally Fracture Nest, and that's a great move. Wonderful. Love being able to do that to her. She did eventually get a turn, but the instant my Thrawn had a turn, I handed it back to Nihilus, who had Annihilate ready, and got rid of Nest. And now we have this really strange situation of we're trying to kill 3 really tanky dudes. L3 is obnoxious. Stormtrooper Han at Relic 5 with his Zeta is obnoxious. Clone Wars Chewie is less obnoxious, but we have to get at least 2 more Annihilates. We're also trying to make it so that I really want to get max banners here if I can. That's why I took the Traya team with Thrawn. We want Thrawn to be there to heal people, and so he's not fracturing anyone, because neither of these two can really do enough damage, even with relics, to really threaten Scion and something. I'm sure health pool is the right word, right? One way or another, not really going to threaten his health pool or protection, and he's the one who can regenerate his protection anyways. So I'm just using basics on Thrawn so that I can cycle through his healing faster, and eventually I was able to get Annihilate off again, and I just did it to Stormtrooper Han, because he's not isolated or anything. I didn't have any debuffs going on him, and really right now all we're doing is trying to take out L3 with a minimum of protection lost. So I used Scion to clean up the last little protection lost on him, and at this point L3 did some damage, but he's not down far enough to actually drop a banner, and I'm just frantically trying to get Thrawn as many turns as I can so that he can heal people. I still have 2 minutes left, plenty of time to be able to do that, and it looks like Traya is probably outside of my ability to heal all the way. It would take like 4 more heals from Thrawn, which is like 12 turns or 9 turns, something like that. For those of you who are good at math, I'm sure that you can figure something like that out. And now that everyone is healed, now we're just trying to kill him as quick as we can. I figured Thrawn can just shoot one more time and see if I can heal someone else's protection one more time. And I could, and honestly no one needed it other than Traya, except maybe Nihilus did too. So handed it to Nihilus, and whether he needed it or not, I ended up with 59 banners against a really tough timeout team, and that's pretty good efficiency in my opinion. So for that zone, I actually averaged 59.5 banners for a couple really cutthroat banner stealing teams. In the back was the pretty obvious General Skywalker team, and then Geonosians surprised me. Normally my opponent puts some flavor of Darth Revan in the back, so that was a change, but I was okay with it, which was good because I had no choice, so I may as well just accept it. Now, the remaining 4 teams here, none of them were super crazy strong, but the Jedi Revan did pose certain problems, the Geonosians posed problems. General Skywalker, though, was pretty obvious. Like, he was the reason I wanted to take my own 501st. I took my own General Skywalker on offense to counter his because of the Commander Luke bug, or rather the General Skywalker bug, where he hits even after he's toppled, and it just makes my Commander Luke team like an 80% win rate, and that's really not acceptable for a match like this, because not only do I need a full clear here, I also would really like to steal a win if possible. And then the other piece of it is I kept Wat on offense this time. Normally he goes with General Grievous. I kept him on offense so that I could specifically counter. My opponent always takes Nute, Dooku, and Malak, and I wanted to counter that with First Order. So that was a specific thing that I took and changed in my defenses in order to accommodate that. After a while of thinking, I decided that my slow Padme team was not going to do great against Jedi Revan, and I wanted to take another stab at it with Commander Luke, because I do know how to do that. Even though I failed last time, I didn't use the optimal methodology that I should have, so I wanted to try that one more time, which meant I needed to take Padme into a relict Geonosian squad, which is a little nerve-wracking. Now, I needed first off to know if my Commander Luke team could win, because that would change everything if I couldn't win here. Alright, so the thing about Commander Luke is every time someone resists a status effect change of some sort, then you gain turn meter. The whole team earns turn meter, and 3PO also adds to that. So you target Jolee because he resists everything except for like the tenacity down and stun, which happened to him. And then you need to target Grandmaster Yoda right away, take him out because he has a really low health pool, and that will trigger Savior. And then after that, you need to go for Jolee like your life depends on it, because it absolutely does. You need to take him out as quick as you can. And at this point, when Jolee got unstunned and they did a mass assist on Commander Luke, I think I said about 5 obscenities that were probably not family friendly in the slightest, and I was glad that my 6-year-old was in bed at the moment, because I was pretty frustrated. That being said, I was happy I managed to pull it back and kill Jolee, so at the very least this team will be Jolee-less. And Commander Luke went down. That was unfortunate to the extreme, of course, but that that happens. the real linchpins here are going to be Han and Chewie. And now that we've got Jolie out, we've got the tank out, we're doing okay. But of course, Revan and Grandmaster Yoda don't really like me that much either right now. So we can't target Yoda because he's stealthed, because C-3PO's stealthed, and it's just kind of a mess. And really, like, this is getting a lot closer than I would have preferred. My opponent had a really well-modded, really fast Jedi Revan team, so that was not awesome. I actually found myself to be quite ungrateful for that. Anyways, I'm contemplating what should I do. Both of these guys have foresight. I decided to actually use Han's middle ability, his special, so that it would miss Grandmaster Yoda, but then Chewie would assist and do damage, and then Han would immediately get another turn so that he could get triple tap in, 2 shots from him and 1 from Chewie. And that ended up working, so took him out. 51 banners. I'd been so efficient so far, and 51 is embarrassing, but it was still screenshot worthy because I beat the squad. That was probably the squad I was the most afraid of, to be honest. Not only did it completely destroy me in one of my matches previously, not too long ago, but, it had actually, I didn't really have a team that could manage it that well. I had thought about trying to take Commander Luke against General Skywalker here, and then using Skywalker to take him out, but for some reason decided not to do that. So now the other question is, my opponent has a way better modded and relict clone team than I do. So, it's like I've very rarely lost this mirror match, but it does happen sometimes, especially when someone has really fast Rex or really fast ARC Trooper especially. That being said, usually you don't lose. So this is one of the most boring matches, honestly, in my opinion. I got toppled first, and now one of my clones is about to die, which is wonderful, because then Fives can sacrifice himself, and I'll be good to go. Finally got the topple here. You really don't want to topple at the same time as... You don't want both Skywalkers to be toppled at the same time. I like having Skywalker topple first, actually, because once he is toppled, then, he'll eventually get up, and I can topple the other Skywalker and have my Skywalker work on clones. So, once he stood up, everyone has the Fives sacrifice stats right now, and I'm doing a lot of damage, and that's obviously the goal. That's basically what we do in this game. One thing I've started doing in a lot of my matches with Commander Luke is I will actually prioritize taking ARC Trooper out first, because ARC Trooper can do a huge amount of damage, and he can dispel the taunt on old Ben, which is really problematic. So I contemplated that at first, decided not to in the end, and it was fine. I did use Rex's Annihilate ability just to topple Skywalker, because Skywalker will then eventually go and potentially increase my cooldowns on Rex and make it so that I can't even use my Annihilate. So best to use it on something like that. And honestly, that's a pretty tough thing to be able to topple him a second time anyway, so I was happy enough to do it. Alright, so my course was set. Needed to use Padme here. The Geonosians, I've timed out against Geonosians a few times with Padme before, but that was all before I had a lot of relics on this team. And really, you want to take Ahsoka here, especially because Ahsoka, it has the passive dispel, or rather, it's not passive exactly, but if you use a special on one of your other characters, she will assist, and her basic dispels buffs. And so right there you see I used a special, and she assisted and dispelled the Brute's taunt ability. However, it didn't really do much in that case, because then Anakin did his AoE and immediately got hit by Brute, and Brute was able to get his taunt back. So, maybe not the most effective, amazing use of Ahsoka ever, but as it stood, I was happy enough. Now, one thing I like about having Shaak Ti here is her 2 abilities make it so that she doesn't actually attack, and so she can grow huge stacks of courage over time, and that's exactly what we want. We want to be able to like one-shot these Geonosians if we can from time to time. So, Ahsoka had actually built up a ton of courage somehow and smote the brute, which was nice. And now we're just trying to take out whichever ones make the most sense. Spy was Relic 5, and he was not stealthed at the time, so that was a great target of opportunity. Was able to take him out, and now we take the soldier out. Honestly, maybe I could have just targeted the Brood Alpha, but it's so much more satisfying when Shaak Ti can just go in and one-shot him. So that was nice. And now, once he's gone, the Geonosians never had any hope of actually killing any of my characters just because of Padme's kit and the way she interacts with Siths and encounters. But they are a threat to be able to just dispel all of my protection up and just hold me for 5 minutes, which has happened. It is a threat. I think it's a threat for weaker Padme squads, frankly. I would really be interested to see, though, like what a fully Relic 7 Geonosian squad would do against Padme. I'm just interested. So, anyways, I'm just taking my time. I was waiting. I was trying to hold my time so that Shaak Ti could heal someone's protection. I'm not sure if it fully worked, but one way or another, 58 banners is amazing. Really happy to get that, especially after I dropped 7 against General Skywalker and 9 against the Jedi Revan team. And now we have the match that I'm probably the most proud of this specific counter because, my opponent did change his defenses up a ton, but the one consistent thing every single time was taking this Nute plus Dooku plus Wat. And I'm not sure about if they took Chase every time or not, but in a lot of ways, the other 2 characters don't necessarily matter that much. So you put the taunting tech onto Kylo Ren immediately from Wat. And the idea is all of the damage that these guys can do is just going to be directed at Kylo Ren, who is Relic 4 and pretty tanky. And you want to stun Malak if you can. Stun lock him, of course. Xaereth just dispelled that, so maybe that was a little premature, which is what she said. But it was fine. The one thing that I kind of forgot about was the fact that Malak can apply shock, or maybe that's Dooku applying it. I don't remember. Both of them can apply it. So, one way or another, some of my characters were getting shot, but these are all Gear 12 characters, and all of my characters on the board right now, besides Wat, are Gear 13, in fact. And Wat he's only Gear, I don't have any Gear 12 here, he's Gear 11. So, eventually I was able to put the weapons tech on First Order Executioner, and that's wonderful because not only does it do a ton of extra damage, but as you'll see in a minute, it will deny Wat, or rather, it will deny Nute his revive ability, which is really nice. Though, that's not necessarily why I took Wat. I wanted Wat to be there to provide the permanent taunting from Kylo Ren. And, I was able to actually one-shot with the original Kylo. I was able to one-shot Baze, which kind of made me laugh. Baze used to be like the pinnacle, and now he's not so much. So, kind of funny. One thing that I kept doing, and I didn't realize what I was doing before, eventually you'll see I keep giving turn meter to Wat, and I want him to go, but the second he goes, I hand that to him. He gets feared because there's damage over time is applied to Malak, and just kind of didn't realize that till the end. I was trying to heal Wat, trying to give him a turn so that he could actually, give himself some protection up. But the second I handed the turn to him, he just was feared and couldn't go anyways. So anyways, ended up the match with 59. Pretty happy with that. And at the end of the day, 1895 is a pretty good banners against that really strong defense. After all of that, I recorded my podcast, and when I came back, I was actually just about to get in bed. Like I literally had brushed my teeth and was like walking toward my bed, I checked, and my opponent was attacking right then. So they initially attacked my top zone, and I stole like 13 banners from that top zone. And then they killed my Nute team for 60, so that was great. They dropped 7 banners against my Darth Revan team, and here I just have the screenshot of the Darth Revan team so that you guys can remember what it was composed of. And before they hit my Geos, or they did hit my Geos, I did the math. They could get a maximum of 1900 if they got 60 on everything else. After that, they dropped another 8 against my Geonosians, and their max score, if they got 60 on all remaining squads, was going to be 1892. So they would need to do some undersized wins and be super efficient to be able to actually beat me here. After they attacked my General Grievous squad, I went away for a little bit, and when I came back, my opponent had failed against Grievous, so that was a good feeling. And then they did go in and kill my Palpatine team with Bastila and Malak. They dropped another 5 banners there, I believe, so that was good as well. And then they attacked Grievous again for nothing. I actually healed a little bit, and then they attacked him again, and I don't actually notice any difference, so maybe they just quit out. It's ironic to me that General Grievous actually held for the first time this entire season. Or no, maybe he did a couple other times, but I took Wat off, and then he held. I put Probe Droid in there just so I'd have someone who died pretty early and had a chance to explode while doing it. Anyways, my opponent was extremely classy, really cool guy, and he complimented my defense, so that's amazing, especially coming from a guy who wins as much as he does. A lot of guys who are accustomed to winning don't take a loss well, so huge kudos to my opponent. Really cool guy. I'm just going to show you guys my zones one more time because that's the tradition in these here parts. I like to show you guys what I took on defense every time if I can, unless I have some reason not to. But really, my defenses, once again, I didn't get a ton of holds. Grievous got enough holds, obviously, for my tastes, but the match was already actually over before that match took place. Like, I was already going to win via efficiency. So, and that's generally how I like to do things. I like to win via efficiency. Great. The other awesome thing about this match was I got the full clear, which means that in my next match, all I need to do, I need to get a full clear, but I don't need to win. I have no pressure of winning. I just need to full clear in order to get Kyber. And, Kyber's always the stated goal. We want to get Kyber. I would love to go 11-1 if possible, but, if I end up getting 10-2 and getting into Kyber, that's more important than basically anything. I would rather, if I get into Kyber, I would trade a loss for that. So we'll see. My next opponent is actually his mods are so crazy. He is a really good player. He has more lifetime banners than me as well, which honestly I am almost never in a group where anyone has more lifetime banners than me. And that's not me bragging. That's just how it's fallen out. And in this group, I had 2 people at that, and then there was like a couple other people who were right close to my banner level. So it's been a really rough group. Hopefully I can pull it out tomorrow. We'll see. But one way or another, really glad I got the win. This is probably one of my highest quality wins that I've had because my opponent's skill was so huge. Really glad that I was able to win. So hope you guys enjoyed it. I won't keep you longer. So thank you all so much for watching. And remember that in all things, Xaereth prevails.